Everybody, Boxing Bo here. I want to talk to you guys today about feeding your animals, and there's a trend going on that I've been noticing, and you see a lot of keepers, a lot of breeders, a lot of people, a lot of hobbyists, a lot of people that sell snakes say this line. They say I'm slowly growing mine up. So when you buy a snake and it's not the size it's supposed to be, or they know it's not going to be the size that it should be for that age, they say it's been slow grown. Now, why am I saying slow grown? Because there is a big difference between slow growing and maintenance feeding. And what is happening with a lot of keepers, especially breeders, I've noticed, is maintenance feeding. In other words, they're feeding that animal just enough to keep it alive before it comes into your hands. Now, there's the other issue of problem feeders, where it's a snake that wasn't a good starter, took a while to get going, and that can happen too. And most times, a responsible breeder will say, hey, this was a problem feeder, so he's going to be a little smaller, she's going to be a little smaller than when I first got her because of that issue, but now it's got going, so it's all good, so it shouldn't get up to no size in no time. I'm going to show a perfect example. Priest, you want to come over here with me real quick? Okay, right here are 3 bred lies, alright? Now, I'm not cutting down any of the breeders or anything like that. Stephen Cat did an excellent job. Now, what you see here, I'll actually put them on the ground in the sun so you can see. Now, if you actually look at these, please go ahead and come on in. This is the female, this is Sephora, this is Moses, and this one right here is Jericho. Now, they look about the same age, but they're not, okay? This striped bred lie here, Jericho, which is a gorgeous looking boy, that's so thankful I got him, so happy, don't get me wrong, is a year older than these two. A year older. This guy right here is a year older than these two right here. These two are just stunning. From these two I got from Stephen Katz. Absolutely just gorgeous looking bred lie. Now, he's a little bit thicker, his head's a little bit bigger, but other than that, there's no difference. He is not as big as he should be for this age. He was not a problem feeder. That wasn't the issue. This is what happens when you maintenance feed. Okay? This is just enough. This awesome bred lie was fed just enough to stay alive until it could be sold. That is not slow grown. That's maintenance feeding, and that's not right. All right, Priest, you want to go ahead and bring it back up here? I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid back on these guys. Now, don't get me wrong. The breeder I got that Jericho from is a good breeder. He's an excellent breeder. Got good background. Knows what he's doing. Knows what he's talking about. Excellent guy. I'm not cutting him down. So, if you see that video, or if you know who I got that snake from, don't take it as I'm cutting this person down. But that's the issue. I'm using that as a perfect example of something that's been maintenance fed, to where you can tell Steven kept the ones that I got, the bred lies that I got from, you can tell he kept them as if he was going to keep them forever. And that's a problem. That's not right. You shouldn't maintenance feed. For how much you pay for a snake, that's going to feed, that'll buy you, say you spend $250, okay? That's going to feed 1 clutch of say you have eggs and you hatch, or a bow or whatever. You sell 1 baby from that, and that should feed pretty much the entire clutch, or two cells, and that's going to feed your entire clutch. So there's no excuse to maintenance feed. You know, there's a difference between power feeding, and power feeding is when you're given a meal that's too big for that snake twice a week to once a week, but it's obviously a meal that's too large and you're trying to grow up to size. That's too much. Now, what I do with my babies is I feed twice a week, but I feed small meals. All 3 of them get rat pups or pinkies, usually rat pups. They're about this big, and that's what they get twice a week. They poop and pee, and then I feed. And as you can tell by looking at the ones I just showed you, perfectly maintain health, very active, their digestive system, and they're going to grow, but they're going to grow at a pace that they're supposed to. Now, as they get older, Once they hit about a year to a year and a half, I cut down feeding to twice a week. But until then, I do twice a week feeding of small meals. That's how you should properly feed a carpet python. Now, that, don't get me wrong, if you're only feeding once a week or once every 2 weeks, there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like carpet pythons thrive better that way. Same thing with certain bows, not all bows. Your BCCs, you have to take your time. It's a little different. So don't. Now I'm going to show you another example here. Okay, I'm going to get these two out. This is Shadow and Harlot, and these two are the same age now. They got decent size, and the boy's the one that bred my Caramel Jag female. These are Van Bender to an Unknown Jungle. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're getting close to going into shed, so they're a little darker than what they normally are. But jungles do darken a little bit with age. Now, they're not as big as they should be, but that's not from that's not me from maintenance feeding. This is called mousers. These guys will eat frozen thawed, and they will take a rat, but I have to give them frozen thawed first, and then I give them a rat chaser. That means as they're swallowing the mouse, I stick the rat in, and they take the rat down right away. So this is what you get when you got mousers, okay? And these guys are, I absolutely love these guys. They're gorgeous, all right? So that's why they're not as big as you'd think they should be. Now I'm going to get out their sister. Actually, that was Cry. That was Cry and Shadow, my bad. This is Harlot. Harlot here takes rats, okay? And you can tell. Look at the size difference. Okay, she gets a rat every 2 weeks. A small rat, nothing bigger. I don't give her, that's the nice thing about jungles is they don't get real big. Some get decent size, but the majority of them don't get huge, so that you can keep them on small to medium rats their whole life. But she gets fed once a week to once every 2 weeks, depending on if she goes to the bathroom or not. Or if she's in shed, or, you know, just depending if she's wanting to eat or not. Now this is, you can tell the difference between mousers and then one that takes rats. There's nothing wrong with the mousers, but they're going to take a little bit longer to grow. It takes time. All right, so that's an issue. We need to, as breeders, hobbyists, and keepers, you know, when you notice something like that and you feel like a snake's undersized, contact that breeder if you need to, and be like, hey, why is this one this size? You know, if it was a problem feeder, you should have told me about it. If you're just maintenance feeding, you should have told me about it, because it's not right. It's giving the snakes just enough food to barely keep them alive until they can sell it for maximum profit. And there's nothing wrong with making money in snakes. Trust me, I used to breed a ton of boas and a ton of leopard geckos, and I used to make a profit. I mean, not that I could live off of, but it was, I could take a good vacation back in the day. Now, so there's, before you go and buy a vacation or buy car parts or whatever it is you're going to buy with the money you make from the breeding, you need to invest that back into food, not just snakes. You need to invest it, you know, obviously into heating and new caging and bedding and things like that, and you know, but you also need to take at least every litter you have and take money back and put that back for food for future litters, because that way when someone gets a snake, they're going to be happy that, like, wow, you can tell this person really took care of their animal. Look how big it is, look how healthy it is. And I don't mean big like, you know, big, I mean just robust, you know, nice and healthy, not fat. If you notice, none of my snakes are fat, none of them are overweight. I definitely am conscious of that. So, you know, just pay attention to those type of things. Don't fall for that slow grown, as they say, because there's a difference between slow growing and not slow growing. How a lot of that got started from, you'll see it in the boas, some of the boas will have big bodies and pinhead. That's because breeders were getting them up to size within 2 years to breed them, and that was power feeding. There's a difference, you know, that's that power feeding I'm talking about, and that's where they were feeding males that were too big for that snake constantly, whether it pooped or didn't, and getting it up to size, getting it to breed, and usually after 1 or 2 litters, that female boa would die, but that's okay because they got the litter, they're gonna make the money off of it. And that's where the slow growing got started. Now there are species of snakes that you need to really watch and take your time. Green tree pythons, emeralds, your pure BCCs. Those are and there's a few others. Those are ones you have to really slow down. You have to really watch, and you can't overfeed. You have to feed tiny meals, and you got to wait till they defecate and things like that. You know, though there's certain species, but a lot of snakes, I see a lot of boas and carpets that people are getting are too small for an age. There, like I said, there's a year difference in those, a year difference. So there's really no excuse for that to be that size. So those are some of the things that you need to take into consideration if you're going to breed, you know, about feeding your animals properly and on a better schedule, and making sure that they're not being maintenance fed but actually cared for as if you're going to keep them yourself. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not cutting the guy down that I got my striped bred life from, because he's a great guy, very helpful, very nice. He's an awesome guy. But it's just a perfect example of something that's been maintenance fed, and that's why I wanted to use that as an example. Why don't I go ahead and put her down here, and I'm going to go ahead and get them back out. Here, Preach, follow me. We're going to go ahead and get these guys out for a second. Here we go, get these guys out in the sun. Look at these guys. These guys are just absolute. Look at the colors. I mean, these guys are just stunning. Just gorgeous looking bred lives. I can't get enough of them. They're definitely becoming my favorite type of carpet python species to keep. They're just so interesting, so docile. They just feel, they're smooth feeling. They're just very curious carpet python species to keep. If you don't own them, I highly recommend them. I highly recommend Stephen Katz. I know I've been bringing him up a lot, but I mean, you're not going to go wrong with his animals. And not only that, his care for his animals is top notch. He truly cares about the snakes he breeds and he keeps and he sells. And he just contacted me this week asking me how they were doing. This is like I think the fourth time he's got a hold of me asking me how my bred lives were doing. You know, you don't get that from too many guys. I mean, usually it's just a bye and okay, thanks, and you don't hear from them unless you call them. But Stephen goes out of his way. That's why I recommend Stephen Katz so much, because SBK Reptiles is, I believe, I'll get a link to his website down below or his Facebook. But definitely great guy to go with, and these guys are absolutely gorgeous. Sephora is due for a molt. I'm thinking of my tarantulas, is due for a shed. And Moses right here, as you can tell, and you can definitely, let me get him out here in the sun a little bit. You can tell how she's close to going into shed, and you can tell he just came out of shed just by looking at him, and the sides and stuff like that. But just absolutely stunning bred lives. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that maintenance feeding, so to, you know, the slow growing, so to speak, and maintenance feeding. You know, something to think about when you're doing snakes. Obviously, you know, hopefully you guys have a good day. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend. I know I'm enjoying my day. My Cubbies won yesterday. Unfortunately, they're losing right now to the Cardinals, but hey, we might come back and we play them tomorrow. So anyway, this is Boxing Ball. Please like, click, share, and subscribe. If you have any comments, as I always say, leave them down below, and I will definitely get back with you. Thanks for watching. You guys have a good day. Peace.